Hello, and welcome to Jolineknitsalot. This is my show about knitting and crafting and the things I get up to here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. How are you doing? It occurred to me that it's been a while since I introduced myself, and maybe there are some new viewers who don't know very much about me. So my name's Joline. I am a pharmacist when I'm not knitting. I have 2 daughters and a husband and a corgi named Blue, who I sometimes chat with off camera. He's a little camera shy. He makes occasional appearances and you will hear him barking, because if you've ever met a corgi, you'll know that they like to voice their opinions, but they also are very good at judgmental side eyes. So Blue is my constant companion and my co-producer in this program. I knit, I crochet a little bit, I do some cross stitch and very occasionally embroidery. Sometimes I bake, sometimes I make cocktails. Mostly I just like to chat with you about whatever it is that I'm doing in the moment. So I'm glad you're here, and I hope you stay. I had this great idea last weekend in between episodes that I should just start a knit along, which seemed a bit crazy. I'm not really very experienced in hosting knit alongs, but I thought I have been enjoying knitting summerlee socks so much, and why not have a summer of summerlee? So I popped a little video here on YouTube, but if you didn't see it, that's fine. I'll tell you all about it right now. My idea was to knit summerlee socks this summer, and I thought maybe some of you like to join me. We're just going to be knitting whatever pattern from Summerlee you like. She has free patterns. She has her fabulous book, The Sock Project, which I have been knitting from. She has patterns on Ravelry as well as her website. They are beginner friendly. There are some very beginner friendly socks. In fact, I've been hearing about some people who are making their very first socks using Summerlee's book, which is great to hear. She has socks knit in fingering weight as well as heavier weights like DK and even, I think, worsted. So I think that there's a little bit of something for everybody. There's plain socks, there are color faded socks, there are cabled socks, there are color work socks, there are lace socks. You can use variegated yarns, you can use plain tonals. And if you're interested, Summerlee has a whole YouTube channel herself that talks about all the socks that she makes and helpful tips on how to make socks. So I'm hoping that maybe you will join me in a summer of Summerlee socks. I'm going to be using this hashtag on Instagram, Summer of Summerlee Socks. And feel free to join with whips in progress, with finished objects. I just want people to post and to share whatever it is they're making. My hope is that we will knit along. We'll use the hashtag Summer of Summerlee Socks, which you can follow on Instagram by hitting the little search button and typing in hashtag Summer of Summerlee. Then you can follow that hashtag and see what everybody else is making too. And then I hope that we'll leave comments and give little hearts and just share in our making of socks this summer and encourage each other and just sort of there's nothing better than getting a nice message from someone you've never met complimenting you or encouraging you, and I'm just hoping that that's what this knit along can be. We can just support each other and encourage each other and maybe make some friends along the way. There will be some prizes. I don't know what those are yet because I just decided to host this on the spur of the moment last weekend. So I'm going to be sorting out some prizes and they will be awarded randomly to people who are posting with the hashtag Summer of Summerlee. That's all there is to it. If you post, you're in for a chance to win. My little doggy is wanting all the scritchy scratches this morning. So I hope that you'll join me and I hope that you'll find something for you. Like I said, there are varying degrees of difficulty for socks. There are free sock patterns. There's all sorts of things to make this accessible, hopefully, to sock knitters of every ability and interest. So that's what I decided to do last weekend. The last 2 weeks have been actually fairly busy for us. We have had final exams here. Both my daughters were writing some finals. And then this past week, we had a grad ceremony for my older daughter who just graduated from high school. So it's been busy and tiring, but lovely. So we're very proud that she graduated. You know, as with anything in life, there are ups and downs and struggles, but she made it through. She's graduated in the fall. She's excited to be starting a new challenge, which is university. Today I'm wearing my outline tee. This is a pattern by Jessie May Designs. I knitted it with Kelborn Mojave in this peachy color. If you're looking for summer knits like I have been, I encourage you to have a look at Jessie Made patterns. Her patterns are very size inclusive. They're great for summer. A lot of them use like a cotton or a cotton linen blend. And so, yeah, I would check those out if you're in the market for some summer knits. I have a few things off my needles, and it's a variety of things, but we're going to start with Gloria's Greenhouse. This is the third in a series of cross-stitch pictures, which I've been making. It's a murder mystery series, and every clue is a room in a house of 5 roommates, and each room is decorated by a different roommate. And each room has a clue to solve the mystery. So this is the third one. It's Gloria's Greenhouse. And I think the last time I saw you, it just needed some flooring and then to be finished up. So this room has got, as you can see, a little puppy, but also it's got this necklace here, which is beaded and kind of shiny and cool. And I think that's going to tell me who did it, either who did it or who got murdered. I still don't know that part. I guess we'll see. But this is Gloria's Greenhouse. It was lots of fun to cross stitch. They're not a beginner project, I would say, based on the number of pictures or colors that they have in each picture. And the charts are fairly big, but it's only cross stitch and some back stitch in this picture. And then you put on some beads, but she provides you with a beading needle and she tells you how to do it. So it's not hard. And it was lots of fun. The next cross stitch picture I'll be doing probably later this summer will be the portrait of Gloria. And those portraits are just tiny and they sort of complement the rooms. So that is the third in this series. There's one more room kit that is out, and then I'll have to wait to see if more get released. But it's been lots of fun, and I'm not in a rush. So whenever the next one comes out, I'll be looking for it. Now the other embroidery, actually here, before I finish, I'll show you the back side of it. I'm not great at finishing them off, but I do like to put a little piece of, this is some flannel, and I have a huge chunk of it way up in my cupboard. And every time I finish a piece, I just cut it and stitch it on the back. And then I write on the back, this is the third pattern, Gloria's Greenhouse, and the year I finished it. It's not fancy, because really no one's going to see it except for I just showed you. So if you're not impressed, don't tell me. I don't really need to know. The next picture I have finished is one that has been quite some time in the making. I picked up this kit for an embroidery picture, I think like at the beginning of COVID, because that's when I sort of got into embroidery and cross stitch and that sort of thing. I had started this picture and I made some progress, and then it kind of dwindled. And then my younger daughter showed an interest, so she wanted to try. So I let her work on it for a bit, and then also it dwindled and got put aside. My husband's aunt lately has been doing a lot of embroidery type pictures, and so I asked her if she would mind finishing it for me, and she said that she would. So this is very much a team effort between myself, my younger daughter, and my husband's aunt. And this beautiful picture is a series done by an embroidery designer out of the Calgary area. This is Lake Louise, and isn't it pretty? She's done many series of mountains in different seasons. So she has like Lake Louise in winter, Lake Louise in summer, Lake Louise in spring. I think this is the fall one. But I think you can agree that my husband's aunt did an amazing job because she did the bulk of this work. but it's also a beautiful, beautiful kit. And to thank her, I got her a kit to make for herself. So I think she'll enjoy doing that. Hers is a different pattern. This is Lake Louise, and hers is Moraine Lake, which is another glacier-fed lake in Banff National Park. And it's really lovely. Now I don't know where I'm going to put it yet. So I'll have to see. It's quite a tiny picture, but I think that it would be really nice to display it somewhere in my house. I'll figure that out though over time. So those are the two sort of cross-stitchy embroidery type pieces that I've done lately. I really like this piece. I think it's beautiful, but I don't know if, I'll have to see if I would be interested in sort of committing to trying another one. In a way, it's a little less, like you don't have to think about it quite as much as you do with the counted cross stitch, because with counted cross stitch, you're given a chart and you need to plot the X's of the cross stitch on your charted fabric. Whereas this has a design printed on or drawn on, and then you just fill it in, often with satin stitch, sometimes using French knots or something like that to add embellishment. So I don't know, I'm gonna give it some thought. It might be nice to have a series of these. I'll let you know what I decide. You'll see me if I'm working on it. And if I never work on it again, you'll know that I decided it wasn't for me. The last thing I have off my needles this week is just a little market bag. I had some leftover yarn from making the Florence bag and small purse, which I will show you a picture of here, or here. And I had probably about about a ball's worth of yarn left over, so about 50 grams. And I wanted to use it. So I pulled out my trusty Eileen bag pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I made this market bag. It's a bit smaller than some of the other ones I've made. Often when I make this bag, I make more of the mesh pattern so that this is a bit bigger, but it does stretch a fair amount. So if you bear with me for a moment, let's take my favorite book lately, The Sock Project, and pop it in there. I hope that the fact that Blue is chewing on a stick isn't bothering you too terribly much. It's a good way to keep him from barking at passing dogs or me. So you can see the bag does stretch a fair amount. It's got a stocking stitch bottom, and then just this lacy sort of mesh work up the top. I like that it has one strap. I find that easy to maneuver in grocery stores or whatever. So you can put heavy things in and it does stretch, and you can fit a fair amount in. But the more mesh you do, the more you can fit, as you might imagine. I did add some extra stitches on the bottom. So I think the pattern says to cast on 40 stitches, and I cast on 50, and it says to do something like 25 rows, and I did maybe 35 just to give it a bigger base. And then I just worked the mesh pattern up until I reached, well, to be honest, I used about 2/3 of the yarn that I had, and then I saved the last third to do the ribbing at the top of the bag, which just gives it a little bit of structure at the top. Not much, but enough. And then the handle. The handle I did a little bit differently than the pattern says. I believe the pattern says to use a knit one, purl one, but that was do you know, in the end, that probably would have been the same amount of work, but I didn't do that. I knit one, and then I slipped one with yarn in front. And what that does is make it double knitting. So you essentially are knitting a tube. So you can see that the two sides of my handle, the front and the back, pull apart. So it's essentially a big tube. And I think it's kind of gives it some structure. It can hold a lot, it feels strong. And then I just did a 3 needle bind off at the end, as you can see. I had put some stitches on hold when I was doing the ribbing, and then you do a 3 needle bind off, and that's it. If you're looking to make some market bags, these are great. I often knit them bigger than the pattern recommends because I feel like that gives me a bit more room to put things in. I like a bigger bag, but you can make them whatever size you like, and that'll be just fine. The Eileen bag I will link to in the show notes below. Now I have a couple of things that I've been working on, and well, the first one is so close to being done, but given that we had a fairly busy week, I just couldn't finish. I've been working on the Rowdy Tank. This is a tank top by this designer whose name escapes me at this moment. I have knit other things by her, but it's a cute little tank top, and I'm knitting it out of some Ritual Dyes Undine. Undine is a fingering weight cotton linen blend, and you'll see as I hold it up, it looks quite open. I think you can maybe see through a little bit, but when I wash this and dry it, it's going to shrink up a bit, and that's my intention. I want it to be something that I can just like wash and wear, and I did knit it a little bit bigger so that once it has been washed and worn, it will be the gauge that I want for the size that I want. And as you can see, I've knit a lot of it. I used 2 skeins of this yarn, and the second skein, I'm kind of glad it turned out this way, not the other way around, but the second skein has got some like spottiness in it. Like it wasn't quite dyed in the same way, or maybe there are spots that didn't take the dye. But I think that because there's like spots on the bottom, I think it's okay. Like it doesn't look, it just sort of looks like it fades out a bit. I'm okay with it. And when I wash it, it may be that, I don't think the dye will come out actually, but it may, well, we'll see when I wash it. This yarn, I was surprised as I was knitting it. Sometimes when you use yarns that have been dyed, maybe they have a little extra dye in them, sometimes you get the dye rubbing off on your hands as you work it, but that did not happen with this yarn. This is the Jewel Weed colorway, and I'm at the point where I'm knitting my last row of ribbing at the bottom, and then I'm going to do a sewn bind off. I have so little yarn left. I have this much yarn left. So I have, let me see. Oh, I have about 2/3 of a round to go, and then I'm going to sew it off. So hopefully this is enough. I'll let you know. But yeah, it's nice to be almost done this project, and I'm hoping to be wearing it next time I see you. It's been a very cool spring here though, and even though it's the end of June, it really has not been super warm weather here, which is not what you'd expect. So I haven't needed another tank top, but I'm hoping by the next time I see you, I will have reason to wear it. Yeah, that's the Rowdy tank top. And finally, I've been knitting socks for the Summer of Summerleesocks, and I cast on a pair of colorwork socks. Partly, I think, because I have been knitting a lot of stockinette kind of plain things, and I realized that I needed something to sort of challenge my brain a little bit. And the last time I knit something that I really enjoyed, that I found sort of engaging, was the Scandiland socks, also from the Sock Project book by Summerlee. I just found them really, really enjoyable. It was the mix of color work and knitting a small circumference with a method that I'm still a little bit it's not that I'm uncomfortable, but it's not my normal, so I'm still getting used to it. But I've been knitting these sunny side up socks. These are some colorwork socks, as you can see. I started out with this. Oh, there's little Jolineknitsalot Progress Keeper. I started with some Knit Pick Stroll in the Rainforest colorway. And then this yellow color is Knit Pick Stroll in the Goldenrod colorway. And then this creamy color is my good old favorite West Yorkshire Spinners in the Milk Bottle colorway. And I find this pattern goes so quickly because it's an 8-stitch repeat, these little circles. And it's an 8-row repeat because you do the circle and then you knit some plain rounds. And so I find that I can knit like one of these little motifs, and I'm like, okay, I could just knit another one, or I could just knit one more repeat. And so it does go very quickly. This pattern calls for an afterthought heel. So you're supposed to knit the leg as long as you like, put in a stitch marker, and then come back when you're finished the sock and knit the heel. But I chose to knit my heel in as I was going. I thought I might as well. I've got the yarn in place. I used the cream. So it was already in. I didn't have any extra ends to weave in. And I knit the butterfly heel, which you've heard me talk about before, and I'll link to a pattern that has the butterfly heel in the show notes below. I like the Fairground Socks by K.F. Jones, who is the designer of this, of the Fairground Socks and the heel. But it's just a heel that you knit back and forth. It's not short rows, and you use decreases and then picked up stitches to create this heel. The thing I really like about it is the edges of it. So if I can show you this without dropping any stitches. So if you see this edge of the heel, often with a short row heel, there's a lot more gapping here where the stitches come together. And then you can see on the other side, again, very little gapping. And I find that the two sides are quite similar. They mirror each other quite nicely. And so I stuck in a butterfly heel instead of coming back cutting my knitting. And that worked really well for me. I'm quite happy I did that. So now I have, I think, one more repeat to knit before I get to the toe. And then I'll have another sock off the needle. So it could be by the time I see you next time, these will be finished. It's a super fun sock pattern. I chose colors that were very, very in keeping with the pattern from the book. Very similar, but it's also cute in all sorts of color patterns. So, you know what else would be really fun is if you used a self-striping sock yarn for either the background color and then a solid contrast color for the circles, or you could use a tonal color for the background and then use a self-striping for the circles, and then the circles would sort of gradiate as they went down. There's lots of ways to play with these sock patterns, so I hope that maybe you'll give them a try too, or maybe one of the other patterns in the Summerly Sock book. I have lots of plans. And that is all I have to share with you today. I do have I have some sock plans. Why don't I share those with you? So you can see I've got a little stack here. My family and I will be going on vacation this summer, and my plan is to knit some socks while I'm gone. So I've got the sock yarn all ready. I should be able to knit a couple of pairs of shorties, one out of this yarn and one out of this yarn. These are both Knit Picks yarns. The reason I like Knit Picks is that it is a soft yarn. The color range is amazing, and it's quite affordable. There are definitely other sock yarns that I like that are plain colored. This is just one that I happened to stock up on when I picked up the sock project. I was sort of inspired to get a bunch of tonal colors so that I can mix and match and play with some of the patterns from her book. So this will be a shorty pair of socks, and this will be a shorty pair of socks. And then this lovely yarn that I picked up at Polka Dot Creek, who is a yarn dyer in Airdrie and soon to be opening up a new store in Cochrane, Alberta. Airdrie is kind of a commuter community. They are about 15 minutes north of Calgary, Alberta. So south of where I live, but someplace that I get to probably a couple times a year. And then Cochrane is a town that is located just sort of at the base of the Rocky Mountains, between Calgary and Banff. So, and they have amazing ice cream there too. So if you're ever sort of in the Calgary area, know that you can go to Airdrie for Polka Dot Creek or Cochrane and get good ice cream. So this was a third anniversary yarn color. And I'm going to be knitting some lacy socks out of this. I had toyed with the idea of doing a contrast toe for these lacy socks, but then I thought, well, if I'm taking this on vacation, I don't want to take any extra yarn that I'll have to carry around. So that's part of why I'm not taking an extra one, but I am taking sort of smaller projects. So these two pairs of socks and this pair of socks, which is very pink themed, but it is what it is. Whoop. So I have my vacation knitting sorted, I think, but it's also almost July, and so I thought I'd share my July sock yarn with you. At the end of 2023, I took some skeins out of my self-striping sock yarn stash, and I tucked them away in bags at the top of my bookshelf, and every month I pull out a skein to knit a pair of socks. So July this year is this lovely skein. It's by Knitspin Farm, It's a Target Sport. I thought that I had mostly done sport weight, but as I've been pulling the yarns out, they haven't all been. But this one is. The Target Sport is 90% superwash Target and 10% nylon. It's a really nice bouncy base, and I really, really enjoy the socks I've knit out of them. This is called Dragonflies, and it says even stripes of black meadowhawk, eastern podhawk, which is a light blue, harlequin darner, which is green, seaside dragonlet, and Cyrano darner. It was the July 2023 Yarn Club for Knitspin Farm. So I look forward to winding this up and knitting some fun sport weight socks. I wonder, part of me is thinking I should maybe try knitting some, oh, sorry, I'm having thoughts all over the place. At first I was thinking, oh, I could knit some nice rib socks. And then I thought, oh, what if I knit some Andrea Mowry everyday socks, DRK everyday socks, which are ribbed, and I could knit them from the toe up and just use the stitch count that is appropriate for my size. So I know that the DRK everyday socks is written for fingering weight, and normally if I make fingering weight socks I use 64 stitches, but this is sport weight, and for sport weight socks I would knit 56 stitches. So I think what I could do is use the numbers for the 56-inch socks from the DRK everyday sock pattern, and then just knit them the length, but knit the foot the length that I need them to be. We'll see. I'm going to give it a try, I think. I'll let you know next time. I hope in the next couple of weeks you find time to do some things you like to do, and I hope the weather is nice where you are. We could really use some nice warmer weather. It's been cool and rainy, and I'm really wanting to feel the sun. I hope in the next couple of weeks you find time to do the things you like to do, whether that's knitting or cross stitch, maybe some embroidery. I hope you'll join me in the Summer of Summer Leesocks. I think it's going to be lots of fun. I know in the next couple of weeks I plan on knitting a lot, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.